Hi everyone, my name is PNP, founder and CEO of Amotions. Amotions is an accelerant to upskilling. We reduce ramp-up time for roles like sales and managers with AI power coaching, provide real-time suggestions and feedback and role play for people, tailor with company-specific and role-specific content and documents. Today, we're very excited to have Chris Kelly here. Chris has been a human capital executive for a few decades, and he has been multiple time chief people officer at companies like 10x and Couchbase, and he was also HR executive at Intuit. He's going to start a new job as a HR executive soon. Um, Chris, we're very excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
I always love the great conversations with great people doing great things. So appreciate the invite.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else you want to add to your introduction or introduction about emotions?
I had a little low bandwidth there for a second. I lost you.
No, is it here? I said to you, is there anything you want to add to your own introduction?
Yeah. So after quite a few years on doing, having a very great HR career, I took a semi sabbatical, a semi retirement, if you will. Um, and I was able to spend a lot of time with folks like Pian Pian and my friends over at Findem and Talent Sky, um, and others. And it's really been great for me to be able to dive into the way companies are looking to utilize AI. And so, we're gonna talk at a high level about what AI is and what it isn't. But we're also going to dig into some different use cases in HR. Again, this is meant to be a conversation, and it's meant to have lots of exchange with everybody here. And so, but the last year and a half, I've been going pretty deep in use cases around the talent acquisition side, the talent development side, um, skills, and lots of other things. Really to sharpen my own saw, as I did intend all along to get back into an HR leadership position. Um, but along that journey, I also experimented a lot as I started looking for jobs, as I started thinking about, can these tools help with compensation analysis? Can it do more than just write job descriptions better? Can it do more than just, high level data aggregation so you can move faster? And I think we've all seen just in the last year and a half how accelerated it is, but it's still at a point where I've seen great efficiencies and great productivity in certain instances, but it's yet to be adopted and implemented across a large set of processes to where you get in these crazy awesome insights, to where the you have this co-pilot next to you that's giving you and feeding you information real time. um, and I think we will get there, but as we talk about it today, I'd like for us to focus on, we set this up as human capital use cases, and which is in service to the business growth that we're trying to drive. And the way to drive business growth is through talent and human capital growth. And that's where I think we as human resources, it's going to be a fun journey, because I think in the end, what we're trying to do is enhance productivity without losing engagement, make people feel like the work that they're doing is more valued uh, with the assistance that AI could give them, and actually be able to take a vacation without having to log on 3 times or 4 times a day. So I'm extremely bullish, and I really want to hear how others are using it. But we will talk different things about how we're engaging with it and how we're staying up to speed. And this is going to be a sharing opportunity for all of us. And that's really what this and the intent of this time we're going to spend together really is.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Yeah. Well, Chris and I will share some best practices we have seen and we have used, and then the audience, if you have anything you want to jump in, feel free. And um, so, Chris, let's start. Where do you see the biggest opportunities that you think applying AI can help enhance productivity, but also not losing the engagement? Um,
Yeah, I think in the short term, I mean, my background, one of the things that I've always tried to do is bring in agile, bring in design thinking into any organization. I was fortunate enough to to go deep in those mindsets and those tools when I was at Intuit, and now we actually can do that around AI topics, and it's as simple as, hey, let's quickly define a problem we're trying to solve, and now with this new lens of AI, it doesn't replace going and talking to customers, but what it can do is it can be an adjunct data source so that you can move faster. And so I think short term, it really is about how do we just some decrease in cycle time or some increase in productivity doing the work that we're doing today, but through leveraging AI. And the way to do that is to use some design thinking around defining a quick problem statement, doing some rapid design, taking it out to customers, and then going back and doing it all over again until you find something to where incremental productivity enhancements or incremental sharing of ways to make people more productive is going to be one of the immediate leverage points that we have. I think most people are just waiting for this huge, whatever AI means to them. And there's lots of different things. And I'll ask Pian Pian to talk a little bit about how she thinks about AI and what is generative AI versus predictive AI and what is machine learning. And I think, all these things do get, the waters get a little bit muddied, but don't think of AI as a big solution to anything. And like AI will replace this or AI will do this. It's what's the work that we're currently doing? How are we looking to improve and make continuous improvements, make our customers feel better about the work we do, make ourselves feel better about the work that we do. And then as we're going through the solutioning, asking ourselves or leveraging, could we even take this farther if we leverage Chat GPT or if we leveraged any of the other tools? Just, one of the things that I've been using and I would highly recommend is this little, it's called Chat Hub, and it's just an extension to your browser. And
Yep.
what it does is it pulls in all of the free versions, the multiple free versions of the different language models that are out there. And if what you're asking, if the script that you're writing is there's some relative context based upon any of the free versions, but in no versions are using data that is a couple of years lagging, right? So even Chat GPT 4 I think is 2022ish, if I'm not mistaken, but
2023.
2023.
Mm.
So it is now. Is Chat GPT 4 paid or is that free? Maybe I'm thinking Chat GPT 3.
There's a free version, but also a paid version.
Okay. So but it's little tips and tricks like that I think we get started integrating. Of course, you have to have boundaries. Of course, you're not putting sensitive data in there. You're not taking a bunch of employee data and using it in these types of tools. But what you can do, and I'll give you a real example. When I was looking for the job, I went to Chat Hub and I put chief people officer salaries, high, median, mean, low, site sources, And it was amazing the data that came back just like that, right? Now, is it statistically valid? No, it's probably relatively directionally valid, but it's little things like that to where you could start leveraging some of these tools, whether you have in-house version that is sanctioned by your company and you could do a little bit more things with it, or you have a version that you're just trying to get some quick rapid responses. Just building that muscle and thinking about it in a very problem statement kind of way can actually start moving the needle on how people are thinking about AI. Now, there's lots of dark sides about AI. I could almost tell when something's written by AI. I've tried to do all these things with the resumes, and it actually brought up some good points that I was actually able to leverage. But it wasn't something that sounded like Chris Galley, right? That sounded like a Chat GPT. And then I had to really look at it and say, okay, is this how I want to represent myself? Whether or not people realize that I used AI to kind of write parts of this resume. So, Pian Pian, did I answer what you were going after there?
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of thinking about uh, the human capital spectrum to see where the opportunity lies. So I think
Yeah. Can I
getting,
add on?
of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so then there are tools like Emotions
Mhm.
that has a focus, and I really think that that is um, where a lot of this will evolve into, where you have um, some language models that are just better at answering things because they
Mhm.
focus on it, right? And you have lots of other people using it for the same reason. So it's not just doing searches across the web and coming up with what is coming, because not all data on the web is actually scientifically valid, reliable, structured in a way that won't cause some of the things that people are worried about with AI. Um, Now, actually, that's a good kind of handoff to you, Pian Pian, about the difference between some general AI models and some of the more focused AI models. And what is your take on? I mean, obviously, we're a podcast that is sponsored by you, and it's in all good faith that I'm asking you this question. I know the product quite well, and I know the difference. But like, what is the difference between something like what you have versus something that you might be able to just do a Chat GPT search on?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Uh, I mean, something like Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, they're generic models, and uh, there's it's not focused on specific domains, and they can answer a lot of things, and they have been trained on a lot of models. And one big difference between a AI application like that versus, for example, a purpose-built AI application like Emotions is um, the Emotions more focused on the upskilling and coaching space, and also ChatGPT and others are kind of reactive, and you ask the question, it'll answer. So that I mean, the users need to know how to ask the question, and when to and what kind of questions to add. They need to be proactive in doing those. While we build it, uh, for example, like Emotions, we have been building it in a way that's kind of thinking, how can the AI be more proactive uh, in in coaching people and in nudging people and making easy for people to figure out, um, getting an answer without knowing how to prompt it. So, and we also can be highly tailored and specialized, with company specific content, role specific content and data, and also tap into different systems where data sits. So it's a more involved system that can be helpful in some way. I put in some information previously just to explain like what is AI and then what's the difference between the overall AI versus generative AI, large language models. And the latest development of generative AI is the one that kind of uh, started all these newest innovations, and that's generative AI. It's because it can learn from the data it has been fed and then create new things based on that. So it's almost getting close to some human capability. Not, I mean, it's still quite behind humans, but it's getting there. And good use cases for that could be in like coaching, for example, and learning. So for example, like the product we build, you can have the AI to, you can get coached by the AI, and we build the AI in a way that it can actually ask you questions. So it's not just waiting for, so the AI is asking like, tell me about yourself, what's your background, what's your goals. So it's not just waiting for users to ask a question. The AI itself can also ask you questions. You can also role play with the AI. So the AI you can role play as a customer or as a employee, and then it can carry a conversation. So I can, for example, here I can say, I want to tell you our latest AI coaching and upskilling platform. First, I want to understand what your biggest pain points are. And then the AI can carry a conversation almost like a human um, customer in these situations. Um, so
Infrastructure and training our staff to effectively use these
so
technologies.
it's saying
We also
our
struggle
biggest
with
pain
keeping up
points
to date with
are
the rapid
integrating new
advancements in AI
technologies
technology.
into our
If
existing
your coaching and
infrastructure and
upskilling
training our staff
platform can address
effectively
these
using
issues,
these
it would be of great value to
challenges.
us.
Keeping up to date with the rapid advancements in AI technology. These are actually challenges I heard from leaders that I have talked to. So it's kind of on the point of these. And then the AI can also tap into like resources and we have in the system and integrate into like different technologies and content that a company has. So this is more kind of purpose built in these use cases instead of more just generic ChatGPT version. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And I'm obviously still having some bandwidth issues. I really apologize, everybody. So I'm going to go off camera for right now. But you know what's interesting is if anybody follows the Academy to Innovate HR, you might see what I'm about to show you. But I would highly recommend getting on their newsletter, and it actually just kind of prompts me to think, you know, and this is where we'll do our first engagement with the audience. You know, what is everybody using out there, whether it be newsletters, podcasts, you know, following some AI pundits, LinkedIn groups, etc. How are you staying up to speed, and how are you educating yourself on what is out there? While you go ahead and put that in, I'm going to go ahead and kind of talk through some of the things that I've found over the last 12 to 18 months that I think, like I said, the Academy to Innovate HR always has some really cool things. And what I really like about them is they, you know, I don't know about you, but I love cheat sheets. Like anytime I see a cheat sheet on performance management or a cheat sheet on anything that do with AI and HR, I just love it. It's kind of like I love top 10 lists too, right? So, um, and I see these things a bunch on LinkedIn, and then I'll go and I'll dig into them. And I, you know, was doing a lot from a candidate perspective, just to get that viewpoint. And I'll talk about what I found while I was in that journey. But SHRM Workforce has some good newsletters. I love the Zane Khan Superhuman newsletter and Dirk Z's newsletter. I also look at the LinkedIn Tech Stack newsletter. And you find all kind of cool things. Like I found this one site that had 1,000+ chat GPT prompts. And there's so much information out there that it is easy to get overwhelmed, but I've found it really, really informative, not to just look at what's being presented, but to dig down into some of these things. Try some of these prompts yourself. That the prompt that I used to kind of research what is, I was out of the market for 18 months. What does a chief people officer, what does a senior HR executive make in the Bay Area? And asking the site sources took me to the places where they got the data. And what is interesting is that several of the GPT engines would actually come up with slightly different data. And then you dig into the sources and you understand why some of that data was a little bit different. And so, that human lens is always going to be important. I'm not seeing anything in the chat here, but I'm guessing that everybody is using, well, you're here today, right? So that's a source. But what other sources or what other newsletters are people looking at for news on AI types of things?
I personally follow a few practitioners like Andrew Ng and deep learning and others on their newsletters. Chiaki put in LinkedIn, TechCrunch, so the major medias. There are a few other AI newsletters that what I follow is a little bit more technical than what normal people would need to learn. So, yeah.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Start dropping names.
Hey, Chris. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Mark.
How you doing to you and PNPN? I think what you stated, there was a lot there too. What I also find is that there are a ton of startups, because that's a new thing. There are a lot of startups who are in that AI space who are integrating AI. So I also find that you can learn a lot, from cybersecurity to productivity tools to processes to talking to some of these startups on the problems that they're solving and how they look at AI as a way of solving it for them. So that's one of the things I found that I've gained the most insight from is talking to some of these startups and, as Amotions and say, hey, what are you solving for? How are you planning to do it? What does that mean for you? I'm learning through listening and observing from a lot of these AI startup companies.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for joining and for sharing this, Mark. Maybe that's why I get so many meetings. People are just curious to learn. Someone posted local events, local San Francisco Bay Area events on Gen AI.
Awesome.
HR Brewer, SHRM.
Sharky said Crunch, LinkedIn. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
By the way, that was my bad. Because I didn't scroll down far enough to see people's answers.
Yeah, we have about 2,000 people on our newsletter as well. So it's people follow different startups newsletters to learn about different use cases as well.
Yeah, and so those are all great. I spoke about being kind of on the candidate side too, and I think it's important that you look at your customer's point of view. Whether it be if you're currently employed, how do you put yourself in the candidate's shoes, or if you're doing some learning and development, how do you what are the things that the folks in your company are asking for for development. And so looking at, and it brings me, Glenn Cathy over at Ronstad's been posting a bunch of stuff on LinkedIn that's really, really interesting. And it's, it's talking a lot about, as these candidates are using more and more AI tools, it kind of reminds me of the college admissions process and how Jimmy Jack that is. I have two kids that one graduated college, one's in the senior year, and I got another one coming up. But just that whole process of everybody applying to all of the schools and then trying to get into as many as they can, and then this whole scramble once they choose and decline the others, the whole scramble between the ones that didn't get their desired school or their top school, and it's just kind of a cluster. And AI is actually creating that issue. It's making it easy to apply to every job under the sun. It's creating resumes on people's behalf. So there are some things that, as the employer, some of these tools that in theory would make it easier for great candidates to get seen, actually cause the opposite problem. And so just keep that in mind. And I think looking at it from all these different perspectives is going to kind of ahead of the game, because in the end, this is a system, and systems are built to be played. And they offer so much advancement, but they can actually decrease the efficiency and decrease the performance that you're actually seeking when you put some of these things in. So just remember that. Now, I'm going to show something, and I'm going to attempt to show something. I'm going to go off the camera again, just so my bandwidth doesn't become an issue. Let's see. This is one of the AI. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. This is one of the things I just pulled off of LinkedIn, that AI HR, again, Academy to Innovate HR. I'm sure these exist in Hacking HR and all these other ones too. They are actually really helpful. It's really helpful to get some focus on these bigger concepts. And they're not 100% accurate in all situations. In other words, accurate as in terms of being applicable to you and your company. But it helps you through some of these things around how do you write good prompts, right? What tone words are best to use when you're actually asking a prompt to do something on your behalf. In the HR use cases, policy drafting, that's a no-brainer. It's really, really good. We should never actually worry too much about writing a handbook ever again. But if you want to write a handbook in the tone and the voice of your company, that's where you could spend your time creating some differentiation and creating some customization applicable to what you're trying to do. Summarizing feedback, and there are amazing tools that with generative AI. I've seen Upwage is a company that I've seen their product and have spent a little time with them, and their generative AI questions, they're intended for initial phone screening. So there's all of this stuff at the top of the funnel, and you're trying to get to the ones quickly but you want to create a great candidate experience, and you want people to feel like people have seen and heard them. And the generative AI that Upwage uses to get to that, much smaller slate where you might want to put a human on to go dig for culture fit and a little bit more around the data, validating the data that the AI tool found. It's incredible. It asks behavioral questions. It actually can do things in a more efficient way than having an army of recruiters, because it's 24/7. It's in the candidate's language. It's launched whenever the candidate's ready, and it could actually get to the point to where you're spending your time on the right candidates, right? Most tools are leveraging AI, applicant tracking systems or anything related to talent management. For a bunch of these different, the employee engagement tools are leveraging AI. And so a lot of the AI that we will be leveraging is actually being built into some of the products you already have. And then you could look at, what are some of the best in case solutions for specific use cases that may be applicable to your company, but don't actually fall on this list. And so it gives you some things around best practices about using clear prompts and how do you continue to iterate on the questioning. And, there's 10 steps here and we're all smart people. I don't think you have to, I'll make it a little bit bigger if I can so people can see it. But again, AI, HR, taking, up. You could go do a search and I'm sure it's just going to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives you some ideas for data privacy and security. It gives you some ideas on prompting. It gives you some ideas on use cases. And I think we're just really scratching the surface in these HR use cases. And then you get to the things like Emotions, where you have really focused. And so, Pian, can you talk a little bit about some of the use cases that your customers are currently experimenting with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy to do that. So we're, we have individuals, we have a few thousand people using our product, and anonymously, I can kind of like anecdotally, I can share some of the best practices I've heard. They will ask our AI questions like, can you explain to me like how do we evaluate soft skill versus hard skills, and why soft skills are important, and kind of more questions more related to what we're or what Emotions specialize in. And then the users who find the most satisfaction from our product, they know how to put in quite a bit of context for the AI. So they'll explain, for example, like, this is the project I'm working on, and here's some context, and I'm thinking about, this is how I'm going to communicate to my team. Can you help me rephrase it? So it's almost like using the AI as a coach and a sounding board and a mentor. We're also piloting with the software company to help the sales teams be more effective and improve their competency. In this case, they share their documents with us in a secure way. They share their product brochures. They share their sales calls, recording their sales processes, and we feed all these information into the AI, so the AI can come up with the best suggested steps for their own sales team to figure out how to be more capable in what they're doing and reduce their own time. And the AI can give more specific suggestions and feedback based on the context of themselves and the environment they work in. So all these are because a lot of time AI is powerful, generative AI is powerful, but we still need quite a bit of kind of background knowledge and data for it to be most helpful for us. So any documents, any data, and then we have to do some processing as well. But any of these can kind of make it more specific instead of the general advice that you might give, because the more AI understands you, the more detailed it could be, and then we can program the AI and the whole platform to be more proactively knowing when to suggest something to somebody, when to nudge them, when to check in with them. So these are some of the things we're seeing. And then we also see there are companies that we're piloting with, that they're using our AI to coach the human coaches, to coach the managers, so they can, for example, like, they can practice without AI, they can role play without AI, so they can practice their coaching skills in a low risk environment. They can also get advice and tips in a safe environment, no judgment. So all these are some of the use cases that we have seen leveraging the power.
What about onboarding or sales enablement?
Yeah. So for onboarding use cases, the things that we're working with the company is understanding what are the steps that normal train, like what in the old age of using human. I mean, there are a lot of companies still using human to train a new employee or get a new employee onboarded. What are the steps that would be? Is it the first step is to help them understand who's who in a company, and then guide them to like who they should meet and who they should know in the first 90 days, and then suggest the steps on like what are things they should learn about the company history, the product knowledge, their teams kind of work processes, so that the AI can kind of proactively suggest these things and guide people on that. But also the AI can guide them on how to communicate with their colleagues. So these are some of the things. And then for the sales side is having, besides role playing, having the AI as a customer, also thinking about like what are the ways that we can quiz somebody on the product knowledge. What are the ways that we can kind of taking learning science in mind, what are the sequence and frequency we can get someone to learn about certain product knowledge so they can sound like an expert. And then what are the ways we can take the best calls and best learnings from the company, from the existing team members, and then we can show those best practices to the user based on the struggle that they have proactively or answering questions. All these are things that we're working on now. And there's the ultimate invisible AI coach that I want to have one day, is an AI coach that can follow me around, give me real-time suggestions and feedback in meetings. So that's something we're kind of working on for further down the road as well.
Now we talk about business growth, and there is an aspect of productivity that is directly tied to what everybody's vision of what AI will help out with, either making every individual more productive or taking out some of the more repetitive, less complex work completely out through the use of AI. Now, those things will drive some element of business growth, but really it's more about, better operational efficiency. What other types of business growth, and this is a question for the audience. I'm not talking specifically using AI to make humans more productive or more efficient. I'm talking about what types of things are our companies thinking about relative to leveraging AI to drive business growth.
While everyone take a moment to think about it, I had a fireside chat with the business leader, founder of a multi-billion-dollar company 2 weeks ago, and he talked about. I asked him what's the key element, what is the key for his business to be successful, and he said is developing and growing, upscaling himself and also his employees. That's very important to do those things. So yeah, and then AI is it's a tool to democratize, for example, like coaching and development, and having like a mentor in everyone's pocket. AI is an enabler for democratizing learning. So that's part of that. But there are other ways I'm sure people can come up with as well.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. Let me reframe that, because our jobs are to make sure we're taking the human capital and engaging them, developing them, making them more productive, making them feel like they're adding value, giving them the opportunities to do the best work, and AI could play. So if I would say, let's include that. I know in my original question I said outside of that, but that is our job, right?
Mhm.
And so since we're in that space, anything associated with leveraging current, obviously not asking for things that are company confidential, but is there a particular initiative, or is there uh, a project underway in your own teams that you would say, we are doing this and we are looking to leverage AI specifically to drive, better um, talent outcomes in service to business outcomes?
Chiaski said creating content, for example, help build draft or blogs, articles, social media content, uh, draft,
Yeah.
draft goals at work. Yeah,
The performance management system is a
Yeah.
huge opportunity for AI for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Mark. I would double down on what she said, what she posted. I think what we're trying to do with the company I'm working with is to try to make our customers smarter, right? How do we help them solve problems faster, by including AI in our knowledge systems and knowledge base so they can get to their answers quickly and effectively. And that even includes, prospects who are coming in, understanding kind of what the product can solve and the pain we solve. But yes, it's making our customers and potential customers, future customers, smarter about about the value proposition that the product can provide.
Mhm.
I love that, Mark Dean. Thank you.
Um,
Now, if we think about that, and I'm just starting to ponder it now, as Mark stated that, because the company that I'm going to work for, I've had an amazing candidate experience, unlike most of the others during my process, and there's an opportunity even in that amazing candidate experience. There's been no AI that's been leveraged that is helping me think through my benefits options. That's helping me build out. One of the questions I have is like, do you guys shut down between Christmas and New Year's, or do you guys rock on? Like what? Like help me build, and so there it's given me some ideas as walking in the doors to where we could actually um, help newcomers to the organization. Of course, you have all of the culture stuff and all that. And I know that they don't want to overwhelm you before you start, but there are things that are top of mind that I think some AI can help out with.
yeah. Now,
Anybody else? I think making sure okay. Just want to make sure I didn't skip anybody.
yeah. Now, how would you evangelize AI in an organization? Because there are a lot of benefits, but there are some people who might still not understand what it is, or who might still be skeptical about it. And yeah, how would you evangelize it?
Well, fortunately, I don't know yet, but what I do know is I selected an employer who already has a global AI and HR initiative that I'm trying to work myself onto the project team. But I think it really comes down, Pian, to what are the biggest problems we're trying to solve? What are the historical issues that people have complained about? Let's start going after those, and let's go after it, understanding the problem, not going after with AI as a solution, but let's dig into the problem and then make sure that we're aware of all of the different options that AI can. Now, I'm, I could talk wisely about anything to do with talent acquisition, a lot to do with talent development, a lot to do with engagement, onboarding, and those types of processes. And so the way I would evangelize is, hey, let's dig in these problems. Here's the things. Here's my data set that I've built. Use it if need be, and I'm here for you. But I really think that it's to me, it's about productivity. And the more productive people are, the better they're going to feel about the work. And again, I really do believe that we get to a point to where we all get to take a vacation and not have to be on email and not have to. And I know everybody says it, and I'm very, very jealous of you if you actually have the self-discipline to actually do it. There is some self-inflicted wound here, but at the same time, I don't want to go away for a week or two and then come back and have all this stacked up. And so to me, it's my own. And so maybe AI could help there. Like maybe there's an AI widget that we can build for people that can really have them take vacation and not worry about it. Right. So I don't know. That's so the evangelism is get smart about it, stay creative about it. What's going on inside of your company. If there's something already going on, see how you get engaged and leverage your knowledge into what they're doing. And then if there isn't, then I think going in and really doing some customer listening sessions. In this case, your customers would be all the people who are resisting, whether it be the chief data officer or office or CISO, whether it be inside the HR team, whatever. Like just seek to understand first, and then therefore you're not advocating, because there's a difference between advocating and evangelizing. And so that's what I'm excited about, and that's actually part of the reason why I was excited to come out of my semi-retirement / sabbatical, was because I'm excited about the HR vision in the future, with AI as a mechanism to make us even that much better of the partners that we want to be.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, there's a lot of great insights. Thank you so much for sharing this, Chris. We'll continue this conversation as we learn more about the things from our own practices and in various organizations. Any last comments or questions from the audience, or Chris, do you have any wrap up wisdoms to share?
PMP, I'll just say one thing to add on to Chris saying. I think it is about evangelism. I think it's about telling the story, the story that you tell, right? Because I think ultimately, I had someone explain to me similar not too long ago. It's like, if we go back, 30 years ago, and everybody or who was that old, some people may not have been born. I think I was like 3 at that time. But anyway, I heard the story that people used to use maps, paper, to find places to go, and they were routing their path to go somewhere. And if you were to kind of turn that back now with GPS on your phones in your car, so if you want to go somewhere, you just speak and like, hey, I need to go to find the closest Target store, boom. But if you had to pull out a paper map and sit there and use a marker and map out your path, how frustrating would that be for people? And so I think telling stories of success and challenges, because I think sometimes when we're trying to elicit change in an organization, as Chris said, you can't force it on people. You have to give them stories. You have to give them experiences so that they can actually now see the value, because what you want is people to adopt it, because once they adopt it, they own it. And when you own it, you don't have to, kind of look at this and say, hey, we invested this amount of money in this technology, and 6 months later, 8 months later, nobody's using it. So I think it's just the stories that you have to tell, and the examples of success that's going to help drive that.
That's a really good point. Yeah, showing value, how an AI can help someone with make them better at their job, help them get the next promotions or something, anything that can drive them and help them, and show the examples and success stories.
And have it come from the people that are actually their colleagues, who actually said, hey, this is how I was able to achieve this level of success in my role, or here's how I got promoted, or here's how I was the sales person of the quarter. Was able to use this to be able to help develop better content, better follow with my leads, all that stuff. So all of that, kind of comes to why can be very effective for bringing that change process within the organizations. And I think companies that I've seen that fail don't have a mindset around change. They just kind of like, oh, we're going to adopt it. It's cool. People get it. No, you got to have a very, very concentrated change process that goes along with this.
That's true. Yeah. That's very much true. And if we're new to, if a company is new to adopt any new technology, then finding kind of case studies or story from other companies that have used similar technologies could be a way to start. Yeah. Thanks again for the engaging conversation. Appreciate the insights there, Mark, and everyone who contributed to your thoughts. Thank you so much. And thanks again, Chris, for sharing all these insights and